The Selfish Path to Romance. Download Chapter 1 for free at drkenner.com.
Joe, you have a question about your mom's funeral that your sister didn't attend?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
It was very, very difficult. You know, for me to give you the background information would
Sure.
take hours. I could only tell you that last year my father broke his hip. My sister didn't show up and help me take care of him. But I got a phone call from her after taking care of him, and she was angry because she said I didn't tell her everything about my father. And I did. But she's the type of person that needs to point fingers.
Okay.
So I got angry at her, and she hasn't spoken to me since. So I got a phone call that my mom wasn't doing well. My dad's 92, my mom is 90, or was 90.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call from my dad, come on over, things aren't good. They were in the nursing home at the time, and my dad's still in the nursing home.
Yeah.
So my mom wasn't
So they
doing
were
well.
both in the nursing home together, and you're wanting some collaboration with your sister. You're wanting a good connection so she would help out with your dad. She didn't do that, and then she turns around and wags her finger at you and tells you that why didn't you tell her whatever details were missing? And so you're
Right.
feeling a little put off. And now you get another phone call, and mom at the age of 90 is in the same nursing home, and what do you learn?
Oh, well, she's there and she's dying.
Okay.
So we tried to call her, and she wouldn't take my phone call.
Your sister wouldn't.
Right.
Okay.
And I stayed with my mom until she died.
Okay.
Because you're supposed to. You love her, and you don't want her to die alone.
Yeah.
And so I told her everything I needed to tell her. Told her
So you got
everything.
some closure with your mother. You got some lovely closure, and as painful as it was to see her die, you felt like you did the right thing.
Yes.
So you have, with yourself, you can feel proud, you can feel like there is closure, and you can feel settled.
Right. But I tried to call my sister right after my mother died. She wouldn't accept my phone call. I called her through a mutual friend.
Okay.
And she wanted me to take my father, who was in the room also, he was in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
out of the room and go through all the hallways back to his room, which is, a series of hallways, so she could call him on his phone because she didn't want to call him on my phone. And I know it sounds ridiculous.
So what is your relationship with her that makes it so that she is kind of putting her hands up saying, I'm not interested in you. I don't want to connect with you. What is the core of it? Because you've been sisters for many years. Yeah.
The core is very deep, and it would take hours for me to explain.
Okay, but you want to be able to put it in just a sentence or two, just for yourself, not for me. What is it that she doesn't like about you or feels is unfair? Why her push away from you?
Well, I believe...
Hey, I got to interrupt this because we've got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, that's it. A very quick ad, and then Ellen will be back.
Romance. I wish I knew more about what girls want from a relationship. Boy, I wish I knew more about what I want. Where's that ad I saw? Here it is. The Selfish Path to Romance, a serious romance guidebook. Download Chapter 1 for free at selfishromance.com and buy it at amazon.com. Huh. The Selfish Path to Romance. That is interesting.
What is it that she doesn't like about you or feels is unfair? Why her push away from you?
Well, I believe, and I know you're the psychologist, but I believe she has a personality disorder.
Okay,
and
but
I can't,
what is...
And I can't get through it. I remember loaning her and her husband money 30 years ago. And when I got into trouble, they wouldn't give it back to me.
What is the value, Joe, what is the value to you in your life? Are you wanting more connection with your sister? Are you wanting to cut ties with her and say, listen, she's just too difficult, and there have been so many injustices that I can't...
I want to cut ties, but my life is so difficult. I lost a child to a brain tumor.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah.
And it's just been... And I think that she doesn't know how. It's just been so hard and so...
So you're wanting understanding. I heard that you lost a child. How did you lose the child? Just briefly?
Brain tumor.
A brain tumor. How old?
Yeah, well, he died on his 7th birthday. What was that?
Okay, so you've been through a lot. You've been through traumatic losses in your life. And to lose your mother too, you felt like you did the right thing. Your
Yeah.
sister, what is the essence of your relationship with her over the years? Were you really close at one time and you feel a real gaping
No,
loss,
no.
or
I think that she had a jealousy toward me because she feels that she's better than everybody. And when I was able to do well, doing it in my style, she just resented it.
okay,
I'm
well,
not
what
the
is the
same
value
person as
now?
she.
And that may be the case because there is such a thing as sibling rivalry. So, if that's the case, what is the value to you now of having a good connection with a person who's obviously shunning you? You don't need her. You're
I don't
you
need her.
you
I
probably have.
love her children. I
Okay.
love her children. One of her children right now has a problem with heroin, and I don't. And I think it's probably because the family secrets, the way she and her husband treat people.
Okay, so how
They're
old is that child that you have the relationship with?
40.
He's
I'm
30. Okay,
63.
these
I'm
are
63.
what I'm hearing from you is there is one child that you would like connection with who is already a grown adult, so you can have that connection. Be
Yes.
careful of getting so involved that it wraps you into more um, agita. I don't know if that's the right word,
That's the right
Italian word.
word.
In your life
Yeah.
because you don't need more. You've already been through trauma, and I'm sure there are other people. If you were lovely to your mother, my guess is that you're lovely to other people. You sometimes you just need to cut ties with a sibling. What I say is to connect with the good aspects of them. Meaning, if it's just a holiday card and that's all you do, then that's it. If it's a little bit
Okay.
more, fine. But you don't owe it to you owe it to yourself to be very good to yourself and
Mm.
evaluate the person fairly. And whether or not she's got psychological problems, that's really her issue, not yours. She's a grown adult too. And
Well, I
I
have
would
a good.
say, really, you want to grieve the loss of your mother your way.
Mhm.
Respect yourself. You can try to reach out to the other person, but not to get embroiled in, sibling issues with your sister. That's not what you want. And then to
Yeah.
really cherish everything that's good in your own life, Joe.
It's
Yeah.
been so hard.
Yeah, but be good to
I know.
yourself,
Thank you.
respect what you did, recognize that you have closure with your mother, that you gave that to yourself. And I want to
Thank you.
thank you so much and wish you the best, Joe.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I
You're
do
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're very
And have a
welcome.
good night.
Oh, thank you.
And here's a little more from Dr. Kenner.
George, Lorraine wants to go with you. Give her a break.
Look, I'm just not ready to ask Lorraine out to the dance. And not you, nor anybody else on this planet is going to make me change my mind.
And that's from Back to the Future Part 1. And don't you just hate it when someone's trying to coerce you or manipulate you or tell you how to live your life, who to date, what to wear, what to eat, what not to eat, how not to harm yourself, and it feels like a huge intrusion in your life. And whose life is it anyway? It's your life. And who is guiding your life? You are. You are at the helm. You're the one that's steering the ship and making the choices, which path to go down. Now, when someone pushes too much, it's really hard to hear them because sometimes and many times the people in your life are giving you good advice, such as a doctor telling you to lose a few pounds and to exercise more, and you think, he's not going to tell me what to do. Or your wife or a family member telling you the same thing, a sibling, you really are putting on a few pounds. Don't tell me what to do. I'm my own boss. So it's hard to hear them when you experience it as pressure. And sometimes they do have an influence on you, but they don't know it because you go to bed at night And as you're falling off to sleep, you're thinking, my doctor is really right, my mother's really right, or my siblings are really right. I need to exercise. Well, what could I do? And you have the privacy then to decide if you want to take their information. Then you think, oh, but they're not going to tell me what to do. So then you run into the problem of you don't want to take really good action for yourself, and then they came back and say to you, see, I told you should have done that. Isn't it good that you took my advice? And how do you handle that situation? You can just politely and calmly say, I gave it a lot of thought, and you might have raised my awareness a bit, but it didn't need to be raised too much because it's omnipresent. Every time I look in the mirror, I see the weight, and I'm really glad I made the changes for myself. So you own your own choice making.
For more Dr. Kenner podcast, go to drkenner.com and please listen to this ad.
Here's an excerpt from The Selfish Path to Romance, the Serious Romance Guidebook by clinical psychologist Dr. Ellen Kenner and co-author Dr. Edwin Locke.
Having sex out of self-sacrificial duty when you're tired is guaranteed to take the joy out of sex. At the same time, letting intimacy fade away due to fatigue can undermine a relationship. Partners sometimes allow their work to take over their lives, forgetting that they will have no energy for affection or lovemaking at the end of a long day. Sex is too important a pleasure and too crucial for promoting intimacy to be put on the back burner. If you show indifference to your partner's sexual pleasure, you are showing indifference to your partner. If either of you suffers from fatigue, discuss ways to ease the burden.
You can download Chapter 1 for free by going to drkenner.com, and you can buy The Selfish Path to Romance at amazon.com.